Hey there, YouTube. Ghost Jake here with you today. Actually, tonight, because it's almost 3 in the morning where I live. I just got done watching Once Upon a Time, Season 7, Episode 4 on Hulu. And so, we are going to do my review on Once Upon a Time, Season 7. Okay, I don't know what's been going on with me these last past for my Once Upon a Time reviews. These last past 3 Fridays, I just have not been getting home at 8 o'clock. I've been getting home like 8:15 ish, and I'd rather do a review when I can watch all of it instead of watching part of it. So I just haven't been really getting home when it airs. Anyway, now let's get this review started. In this episode of Once, I thought this episode was a pretty good episode. This episode is mainly featuring Rumpelstiltskin and Belle through flashbacks. So that is what this episode is mainly focusing on. Okay, so we start off episode 4 in Storybrooke. Rumple and Belle are getting ready for their son Gideon's birthday. Because if you don't remember, here's a little piece of information. At the end, close to the end of season 7, season 6. I can't remember exactly what episode it is since I'm currently rewatching season 6 in my spare time. But I'm pretty sure it's closer to the end of season 6 where their kid gets turned back into a baby after the Black Fairy was killed by Rumple, I believe she was killed by. Anyway, but back to we see as we see they're getting ready to Rumple and Belle getting ready to celebrate Gideon's birthday in past Storybrooke, because in past Storybrooke, because we're in Hyperion Heights now, right? And as they get ready, then that is where the little flashback ends, and we go to Hyperion Heights. We see Jacinda at at Victoria Belfry's office, talking to her stepsister Ivy about trying to about taking Lucy trick or treating, and Ivy says, "Oh, you can't take her trick or treating after the garden. Victoria is pretty pissed at you after Victoria is pretty pissed at you after what you did with the garden. The petition." And so Ivy's the one who's stuck taking Lucy trick or treating. Anyway, then we go to Ronnie's bar really fast, where we see Henry talking to Ronnie. She's offering some sort of apple alcoholic drink, and she's suggesting that we and she's suggesting that they take and Ronnie's suggesting that they um, take take Ronnie's suggesting that Henry asked to send her to a Halloween party. Right, and then now we go to Victoria Belfry's car. Victoria Belfry's car. She gets ready to start it, and all of a sudden, Weaver's informant named Tilly pops out of nowhere in the back of the car. Right? And she's not taking her drugs, so she looks like she's awake in Hyperion Heights. The curse is not affecting her at all. Right? So that's good. The curse is not affecting her at all right now. So she is awake for the time being, should I say. Anyway, soon after that, she calls Weaver to her office to complain about Tilly, because Tilly is Weaver's informant. About that he needs to find Tilly. Right? That she needs to find Tilly. Before that he needs to find Tilly before, or she's going to blackmail Weaver about some tape she has. Of him doing sketchy things, and then he would end up in jail or prison. Anyway, kind of back to Storybrooke, because I forgot about this. Belle and Rumple are leaving Storybrooke, and they're traveling the different realms and the different worlds so Belle can see the world. They go to many different things. They go to many different places. You see like Gideon start to grow up, and Rumple on this bridge, right? Talking to Belle. I can't remember what the bridge is exactly called, but it's significant because apparently there was a rumor that bridge, the waters like that flow in the river, have the ability to like sever to cut magical ties. Because Rumple decided he wanted to live a mortal life with Belle, and so he decided to he wanted to live a normal life with Belle, so he decided to throw his dagger into the river to try to cut his magical ties so he could become mortal and live in normal mortal life with Belle, so that way he wouldn't have to outlive her and watch her die. Anyway, okay. Now we are going back to Hyperion Heights with Evie, and now we're going back to Hyperion Heights with Evie and Lucy, and they're out trick or treating. And they're out trick or treating, and then. And apparently in this neighborhood Lucy doesn't want to be in because she wants to go to a different neighborhood, and she also wants to see this haunted house, and Evie pretty much says no. So at this house, Lucy has this like bag over her head. She knocks on the door and gets like some milk duds. She doesn't like milk duds. But then behind her, she sees this lady. I mean, not this lady. Duh, I'm stupid. This girl who is dressed in a different Halloween costume, and they switch. They switch costumes so she can go to a different neighborhood and go to the haunted house, right? And then Evie finds out. I mean, not Evie. Ivy finds out that the girl next to her is not Lucy. That they switched, and so Ivy goes to. Ivy goes to. Ivy goes to Jacinda for help. Okay, now we're going to go back to somewhere on Rumple's journey with Belle. They're in this house or mansion. Well, I'm not exactly sure where it's at. But we see Gideon, who is now like 18 or 19. He got accepted to some sort of college. That his parents are really proud of him. So his parents are really proud of him that he got accepted to this college, and then Belle finds this like scroll about this prophecy about where he needs to go to find the place to sever ties. And the place where he needs to go, it's called the Edge of the Realms. So they go to the Edge of the Realms, right? And they actually build a house. They build a house on the Edge of the Realms. Anyway, after the house is built, that is where I'm going to go back to Hyperion Heights really fast. We see Weaver and Rumple. I mean, not Weaver and Rumple. They're the same person. My bad. Weaver and Rogers. They've been ordered to find Tilly, so they split up, and then Rumple goes and he finds Tilly at one of her hangouts where she wants to go, where she likes to hang out. And this is where I was like, I know who you are. I know who you really are. Tilly is actually saying, and they end up going to this like she's saying Tilly is pretty much saying like everyone is part of the same puzzle, like using a Rubik cube as using a Rubik cube as an example, how everybody is connected, right? Anyway, I kind of have to apologize, guys, if it seems like I'm kind of hesitating. I'm trying to remember this right off the bat. Since it was almost 3 in the morning, I decided not to take any notes or anything with this episode. I'm just doing it off of memory. So I just wanted to apologize to you guys about that right from the beginning. Anyway, now back to the review. Tilly and Weaver, they're in the car going someplace, and Weaver gives her a sandwich She takes a bite of it, and she finds out that she has been drugged. Rumple drugged the sandwich with the pills. Right? Rumple drugged the sandwich with the pill. Weaver drugged the sandwich with the pills. Anyway, then Tilly pretty much jumps out of the car, the moving car, and runs off and tries to get Weaver to follow her to wherever she's going. She's going to like this storage unit or wherever. Okay. Now we go back to the Edge of the Realms really fast. Where we left off at the Edge of the Realms, we left off after the house was built. Time is passing, and it keeps going and going and going. The time may be stopped or going really slowly, but since Rumple, and we get to see Gideon a few more times, come visiting his parents at the Edge of the Realms, but since time keeps on getting, going faster and faster and faster. Slow. Time is going slow, but for Belle, time is moving for her like at a normal pace. She's getting older and older and older and older, until, guess what? At the very close to the end of the flashback, Belle dies. And then she reveals to Rumple that she did not read the. She probably read the scroll correctly. Excuse me, good gosh. She probably read the scroll correctly, but she did not translate it correctly. She did not tell Rumple everything about the scroll. Right? She did not tell him everything about the scroll. Because, the scroll apparently said that she needed to... that if their love could transcend time and death, that Rumple would eventually meet the guardian who would take the dagger and the darkness away from him, and he could live a normal life, and then they would eventually meet up again, probably in death, or just meet up again. Not entirely too sure about that. Okay, now we go back to Hyperion Heights for the rest of the episode. No, wait. Yeah. Almost the rest of the episode. Okay, Jacinda is working at her chicken shack, or the chicken shack, and then all of a sudden Ivy comes in right when Henry's getting ready to right when Henry is getting ready to ask her to a Halloween party that Ronnie suggested earlier on in the episode. Ivy comes to Jacinda and tells her, "Oh, Lucy is gone. She switched with another girl." And Ivy's getting ready to go look for her, and Jacinda wants to go too. But then Henry steps up and says, "You know what? You stay here so you pretty much don't get fired. He's like, give me your contact information, and text me all sorts of places that Lucy wants to go to, or that she hangs out at." Right? And then Henry goes to meet up with Ivy. Now we go back to Tilly and Weaver really fast. Tilly and Weaver they're pretty much in this like storage unit, and Tilly is trying to get Weaver to remember that he's Rumpelstiltskin. So she shows Weaver the Belle's teacup in hopes that would get him to remember who he is. And guess what? The curse is not actually lifting or anything. It's not doing anything. At least for Weaver's side. Then, then all of a sudden, Tilly grabs Rumple's gun and shoots him in like the chest area, and then she reveals that that Weaver is Rumpelstiltskin. And then it kind of goes black. And then after she reveals that, we go to Ivy and Henry, who's finally caught up to her. And Henry's like, sits down next to Ivy and starts having a conversation with her. He's like, you don't have to do, everything, like your mother says you have to do. And then they compare, and then Ivy reveals like, oh, like, if I don't listen to her, then I'm pretty much all alone. And then Henry reveals like how like just last year, well, a couple months ago, or a few months ago, he was pretty much in her exact same position. I don't know if you can say they actually bonded over the thing, or over that conversation, but they definitely came to understand each other. I'd say they bonded, a little bit, not very much. Right? And then Henry shows the list to Ivy, and then Ivy looks at Henry's phone. It's like number 3. She was talking all day about wanting to go to this haunted house. Okay. Then they reunite. Then we go back to the chicken restaurant. Then we go back to the chicken restaurant where Jacinda is working. She's off now, and there's like a couple hours left of trick-or-treating. And then Ivy gives her permission, like, go trick-or-treating, go to the haunted house, do whatever you want. It's like, and she says, I'll cover her stepmom. And then they invite Henry to go too, and Henry says no. Okay, and then we go to Ronnie's bar. Henry is working on his computer and is drinking something. Then all of a sudden, Ivy shows up and offers Henry like some whiskey or some bourbon or whatever. And then Ivy and Henry start to drink together for a little bit. Now to close out the episode, we go to the hospital. In the hospital, we see Rogers and we see Weaver. And he's like, oh, you must be, and where Rogers gives the joke, oh, you must be immortal. But while Weaver's recovering, he sees like this vision kind of this vision of Belle, like looming over him, right? And Roger says, "You must be immortal." And he's like, and then he kind of comes to, and he's like, "What?" And then he's like, "Oh, okay." And then all of a sudden, Rogers leaves, and then Victoria comes in, and Rogers has and Weaver has some nice words about her, and then all of a sudden he gives her a warning, like saying not to mess with them. So, I think Weaver kind of remembers he's Rumpelstiltskin, and to pretty much end the episode, we find Rumple. He shows up in like the new realm, and we see Henry go past him on the motorcycle. And we see Henry go past him in the motorcycle, and then we see Tilly, who's actually Alice from Alice in Wonderland. Okay, that is pretty much it. Excited for episode 5 next week, and when the Exorcist returns. What I thought about this episode, I thought it was a very good episode. We got to learn a bunch of backstory. Anyway, Ghost Jake signing off. Good night.